In 16th century India, a man who survived as an abandoned orphan grew to exert more influence than the military conquerors of his age. He did it not with a sword, but by translating ancient epics into the language of the streets. Sacred texts like Valmiki's Ramayana were guarded by an elite. Written in Sanskrit, few outside the Brahmin class could understand them. This meant the vast majority could not hear their own divine stories, relying entirely on intermediaries to access their faith. Into this world, a boy named Rambola was born in 1511. Because his birth was deemed astrologically inauspicious, his parents abandoned him when he was only 4 days old. He survived as an orphan, wandering for years and begging for alms. Rambola's start as a social outcast mirrored the religious isolation of the common people. He was a boy without a family, living in a society that could not read its own heritage. A wandering guru eventually took the boy in, renaming him Tulsidas and providing him a formal education in Ayodhya. He later became a householder and married a woman named Ratnavali. The turning point came from a sharp rebuke by his wife. Ratnavali told Tulsidas that if he loved God even half as much as he obsessed over her physical body, he would achieve salvation. Tulsidas walked away that very night. He abandoned his home, trading his householder's life for the robes of a wandering ascetic. This personal crisis was the catalyst for his mission. It forced him to seek a path to the divine that was accessible to everyone, regardless of their social standing or comfort. His travels brought him to Varanasi, the spiritual center on the banks of the Ganges. Local legend describes him offering water to a tree, an act that supposedly quenched the thirst of a ghost. In gratitude, the ghost led Tulsidas to the monkey deity Hanuman, who was hiding in the city disguised as a leper. Hanuman then directed the poet to the forest of Chitrakuta for a direct encounter with Rama. At Chitrakuta, Tulsidas experienced a vision where Lord Rama appeared as a child. In this encounter, the deity reached out and applied sandalwood paste directly to the poet's forehead. These experiences helped Tulsidas bridge a gap in Hindu philosophy, reconciling Nirguna, the abstract formless absolute, with Saguna, a personal god with whom a devotee could have a relationship. He argued that the complex rituals of the highborn were unnecessary. Instead, he taught bhakti, a system of simple devotion and the chanting of Rama's name that was open to anyone. This was a direct democratic link to the divine. It removed the need for a priestly intermediary and made spirituality a matter of personal devotion rather than linguistic mastery. Tulsidas eventually claimed that the deity Shiva appeared in a dream with a command: stop writing in elite Sanskrit and use Awadhi, the everyday language spoken by the people around him. He settled at what is now Tulsi Ghat in Varanasi to write his masterpiece, the Ramcharitmanas. It took over 2 years to retell the ancient epic in a dialect the local population could actually understand. The city's traditional scholars viewed this as an act of defiance. To test the manuscript's validity, they placed it at the bottom of a pile of Sanskrit scriptures inside a locked temple overnight. When the temple was opened the next morning, the legend states the Ramcharitmanas was found at the very top of the pile, reportedly bearing the signature of Shiva himself. His influence even reached the Mughal court. When Emperor Akbar imprisoned him for refusing to perform a miracle, tradition says an army of monkeys descended on Fatehpur Sikri and wreaked havoc until the poet was released. Surviving both religious censorship and imperial imprisonment suggested that his movement was no longer something the authorities could stop. The Ramcharitmanas eventually became the primary religious text for millions in northern India. By choosing the vernacular, Tulsidas bypassed the elite gatekeepers and reached directly into people's homes. He then adapted his written text into the Ramlila, a form of live, participatory folk theater that is still performed today. This ensured that even those who could not read could still participate in the epic. The divine story was no longer a hidden secret, it was a shared public experience. His poetry did more than provide a text. It helped standardize regional languages and provided the lyrical foundation for much of Hindustani classical music. The reach of his work remained visible into the modern era. A 1980s television adaptation based on his retelling became the most popular program in Indian history, bringing the entire nation to a standstill. Even Mahatma Gandhi held Tulsidas in high esteem, and he considered the Ramcharitmanas to be the greatest book in all devotional literature. The boy who was abandoned as an outcast ultimately built a spiritual family for an entire subcontinent. He did it not by demanding they learn his language, but by choosing to speak theirs.